Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the Tesla factory light bar for the Cyber Beast. Or I'm assuming at some point Tesla will sell them to anyone with a Cybertruck. But as you can see, this light bar has been installed. It was installed by Tesla. They use the adhesives and procedures necessary to physically install it to the Cybertruck. But, you know, when I picked it up at Tesla, I was like, oh, hey, great, I just have to hook up one thing, right? And it's ready to go. Or is it already ready to go? What did you guys do for me? And of course, when I came in here and I looked into the light section, you know, trying to figure out, oh, wait a minute, I don't see anything for, gosh, where did that go? No, you're right, there is nothing for the light bar if you do not have the light bar wired in. So let's talk a little bit about how you would wire in the light bar. My first thought was that, oh, I just need to remove this B-pillar piece here and we'll hook up the little dongle that's in here and we'll be good to go, right? Well, not exactly. So let me show you at least that process of how to do that, because in all likelihood, if you've received yours from Tesla, you may need to hook this up as well. The first part of that is to remove this plastic piece. You can just get in here with a little wedge tool. There's two places that it affixes. I'll pop this out, one and then two. Whoops. And as you can see, it reveals a little 10mm bolt. So let's get a ratchet for that a moment and loosen this up and take this single bolt out. Now this is something that I actually already did when I was at Tesla, because I thought, oh, well, this is probably the only thing that needs to be hooked up, and as soon as I hook it up, my light bar will work. Well, in fact, that was not the case. There was more to it than that. But I at least want to show this process, because you may well have to go through this process yourself if you've received your light bar from Tesla and decide that you need to hook it up because they have not completely hooked it up, which I understand. You know, there are some federal laws or whatever that prevent them from doing so. So I'm not faulting Tesla for not hooking mine up. I just want to go through the procedure. So you can see a lot of little tiny threads on that one. So we'll pull that out. And then as I recall, when I did this at Tesla, it's really just a matter of kind of hinging this out of the way. And as you can see, the door is a little tight here. You can pull it down from the top like so. Let's pull that down and pull it out. And you can see there's just a couple of clips. Let's get up inside of here and then expose the dongle that I already hooked up. So here it is here. This wire will likely be disconnected at this connector right here. As you can see, I have already plugged it in. So this part of the job of being hooked up is done. When I did that, of course, I thought, oh, now I should be able to see it on screen. Now I have a light bar ready to go. You know, let's get this all installed. And this is just a matter of pushing some of this back into place here. There we go. I'll pause a second while I get that snapped back into place. Okay, one thing I should mention is that in the rectangular cutout that's here where you get at that wiring loom, this piece actually has kind of a little, I don't know, a little lip piece that's got to go into that square and hook up in there. So that's why when you pull this out, you're going to have to kind of pull it down to get that little piece out from underneath the lip. It also makes sure that, you know, like this is not loose, that it goes in all the way. You may need to put a little bit of pull the rubber weather stripping out a little bit so it's ready to go. But this is it. It's in. It's good. It's solid. All we need to do now is put the screw back in and put the plastic cover back on. So give me a moment and I'll do that. Okay, so we're back. As you can see, this piece is all reinstalled. The plastic clip piece is reinstalled here. That's all good. Well, still don't have a light bar showing up. Still aren't able to turn this light bar on. Why is that? Well, let me show you the next reason why your light bar might not be functional from Tesla, and that requires getting up top here. So, as you can imagine, there is wiring coming from the light bar. In fact, you can see right here the wiring coming from the light bar. So what I need to do now is get a little plastic wedge tool and get underneath here and take this cover up. And what you'll find is underneath this cover, there is more wiring from the factory, and of course the wiring from Tesla, which would explain an item that Tesla gave me. So let me stop a second and show that while I pull the rest of this plastic strip up. Okay, so what I want to show you next is, this is the upper factory wiring loom. Came from the factory this way. It's probably been tucked down inside of here the whole time. So if you take this strip up, you can gain access to it. And I can take this off completely. I'm just holding up at the moment. And this is where we're going to need to wire into. These are the wires from the light bar. And as you can see, there's a black wire, a red wire, a green wire. Well, guess what? Tesla also gave me this little packet right here. So this packet has a red wire, green wire, black wire, and some shrink wrapped. I don't know if anyone wants the barcode or information off the back of the package, but there you go if it is. So what I need to do is attach this wire in between both of these. So I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to have to pull some of this coating off of this wrap that they have around it to expose the wires. Take this piece off as well too. I'm going to take this out of my way and then get these items lined up. Now, the procedure that's in the Tesla service manual says to solder these together and then to shrink wrap, these little black tubes around it to help keep moisture out. I may use some solderless connections because I think it's a little bit easier than sitting up here with a soldering iron and soldering over the top of your Cybertruck. As long as you have a good connection, you shrink wrap the things up, you should be perfectly fine. So let me take a few things out of the way, get some wire stripped, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so I went and reviewed the Tesla installation procedure for the wiring here. And I wasn't sure because these things are pretty solid. I thought, oh, there might be some sort of pins or connectors, but it says, nope, these are just protective caps. Cut these off and then bare the wire back about 1/2 inch on this side. And likewise, take off this protective cap, bare these wires back 1/2 inch on this side. So I'm going to do that. The other thing it talked about is they have like some sort of little airbag they put underneath here and inflate. I was going to use the Master Chief pillow, but I think I'll probably just wrap up a towel and put it here just so that this is flexed up and out of the way, and I can work on stripping these wires next. Okay, I thought I'd take a moment here to show you where I'm at. You can see I've cut off those 3 ends and I've trimmed back those 3 wires, the green wire, black wire with a white stripe, red wire with a blue stripe. There's those pieces I cut off. Those are just trash. Then I took the other plastic piece off at the end of this. All 3 of these wires are nicely trimmed back for me already. So the next thing to do will be to remove these little end pieces off of the jumper wire and attach these together. And in fact, I'm probably just going to attach them by hand first. Want to see what that does in terms of completing the circuit before I, put the connectors on. And again, I talked about having some of these solderless connectors where, I'll slide this over, one end of the wire, I'll slide the other wire in here, then those get crimped together, and because it's metal inside, that keeps good metal contact the whole time. And of course, I'll want to put the shrink wrap pieces on these wires first before I put those together. I'll probably put it on the jumper wire because there's more room, so that once the connections are made, then I can slide those over, heat those up, and get the shrink wraps on, and then finally wrap the whole thing in electrical tape and seal it up. So let's get to jumping some wires here. Okay, as you can see here, I've put the connectors onto the wires, obviously green to green, green to green, black to black, red to red, pretty straightforward in terms of how the wiring goes. So now that these are all connected, before I wrap everything up, let's go test it by turning the upper outlet on in the truck and seeing if we get a response. All right, so I'm back in the car. I checked under lights. There's no light bar showing up here yet or anything, but I am going to go into outlets and tell the roof power feed to turn on. Now, I did hear that to set up the light bar that you had to do this and then like exit the vehicle and come back in. So now it says light bar, access additional light bar controls below. Well, what do you know? Seems to have shown up right away. Looks like we could turn on light bar, ditch lights, floodlights, both. What if I do floodlights? All right, well, obviously I have a black wrapper over my over my bar. But why don't we go ahead and say, you know, let's do both. And let's go out and see about pulling that wrapper off. So of course all of this just showed up after I had turned that on, and this changed from the upper power feed here to light bar. So let's go outside the truck and take a look. Okay, so as you recall, there is a kind of black paper tape over this, and lo and behold, ta-da, looks like we have a light bar, a working light bar, ladies and gentlemen, with the side lights, floodlights, etc. So obviously I have to do a little testing at night. It's quite bright there across the top of my garage, and I need to get all these wrapped up and put away. So let me do that, and I'll take a couple final shots of what it looks like, but I think we have success. Okay, so back inside the truck now. Notice I did get a message here that said light bar installation complete. I did see that in the installation guide, that you want to look for that. And I know some people have been asking, like, hey, aren't there, you know, doesn't the light bar shine in through the top of the windshield? Don't you see it? And the answer is no. You absolutely do not. Or does it somehow light up like the lower front part of the dash? Does it come through the windshield? No. I mean, look at, you can see the kind of the bright line there on the garage wall. No, that's not the case. It's not lighting up anything in here. Obviously I'll shoot some pictures later at night, but there's nothing inside either that's causing any issue. So I do see that the light bar now does show up top up here. I don't know if, let's see if I say off. Oh, and check it out. It does turn off when you've got that on. If I say floodlights, if I say ditch lights, it doesn't show that. So only on floods or both does this actually light up. But that's kind of cool. So, all right, looks like we have success. Now to wrap a few things up and get a few pictures.